Welcome to The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. Host Randy Chevrier and Sheldon Napastia guide you through great stories that spark great conversations. Two really big guys talking a big game. The boys are locked in and ready to go. Welcome to The Ride.
Welcome to The Ride, everybody. Episode 64 it is. And as always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and of course YYC Calgary Business Group and Chevy. Welcome back to another Tuesday night here on The Ride.
Yeah, man, you mentioned episode 64. Started a little tradition because Daryl always challenged us to find an athlete or someone we played with wearing the numbers. So the one that I got is Jeff Pilon. Jeff Pilon, great offensive lineman for the Stampeders. We both played with him. His son, we both fought him. I think he's fought every. You know what? We always said it. Training camp did not start until Jeff Pilon got into a fight with someone after a one-on-one. Every year, without a doubt. The biggest one I saw was when Eddie Freeman and Marcus Parker. You remember Marcus Parker? I think you played with him, and he kind of crossed over at the end of your. Anyhow, Marcus Parker and Eddie Freeman, defensive tackle, both fought Jeff Pilon, and that was when you remember there was that guy that had played with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he was I can't remember his name. It wasn't Troy Pelchak, but Jeff kind of beat him on one-on-one. Dumped him way past the quarterback bag, and Jeff goes back to the line, and the guy jumped him from behind. You remember that?
No, I don't know.
Every year.
You know what I do remember though? My best Jeff Pilon fight was actually in a game. I think we were playing the Ottawa Renegades at that time, and his brother Mark Pilon was playing on the other team. Somebody from the Stamps took a cheap shot on him, knocked him out of bounds, did some kind of a late hit. Jeff lost it and fought the Stamp that took a cheap shot at his brother. Jeff has probably the most clearest vision of right and wrong that there was. And if you crossed that line of right and wrong to him, he would lose his stuff. And tough guy for sure.
Tough guy. And shout out to his son, Jake, who plays, I believe he plays for the Kelowna Rockets now, goaltender in the WHL. So,
cool.
So, Sheldon, what are we talking about tonight? What are just some of the topics we're talking about today? What do we got in store?
Obviously, the game on Thursday night. I mean, that was absolutely insane. It feels like just days ago that we're talking about. Are you excited about the tournament? Well, I'm sure I will be when it starts, dude. What a finish! It was a tournament of the ages. We're definitely going to cover that. I think we're going to, and then also, I don't know if you've read some of the backlash after the game on our captain, Wayne Gretzky. He's actually getting booed because his relationship with Donald Trump in the States and all of that. We're going to talk a little bit about that in our second segment. And then,
and let's touch on some of the different, there's a lot of connections to this game. We'll get into it about the connections politically and what's going on. We'll try and have a little fun with it. I mean, listen, our national anthem, there was a lot of talk about will Canada boo the U.S. national anthem before the game. I think we wound up booing our own national anthem. We'll talk about that. And then studs and duds in the third segment. And we're going to leave it out. Well, I guess towards the end, we're going to talk about the death of an icon almost. Maybe the death of an icon. And then if you stay tuned, we got a treat for you. Lately, we've been going out with different songs. Since the Super Bowl, we had a song commemorating the Eagles. We got a very special tune coming out from one of our very own good friends, Bruno Lindy and the ZBs. He lent us a tune to go out tonight. So if you want to stay tuned, you hear some of the rock that the ZBs puts out. But Sheldon, what we're going to kick it off with before we get into the Canada talk, a little bit of 300-pound poetry that just so happens to commemorate the game. So let's hit it, Trey.
And now, 300-pound poetry with Chevy and Nasty.
The 300 poets are back in their seats. The 300-pound poets are back in their seats. It's live, everybody. Just finding something to do since we've hung up our cleats.
Good recovery, though.
Thank you.
Was it ever in question? Was it ever in doubt? A golden goal. It's what Canada is all about.
Our stars came to win. There was cause for celebration. After McDavid's overtime goal, united our nation.
As our dominance returned, and as we get set for 2026, are you ready to cheer again in the next Olympics?
And let's make sure next time that our anthem is with the right words, because Chantal Kraviachik's version, well, it was for the birds.
The ride is our show. Relaxed is our disposition. And to have great, engaging conversations, well, that's always our mission. We are pretty relaxed.
Yeah.
We come together every week. We do the show. We have fun. Trey's and we're a bit of a triangle here. And every week, one of us isn't 100%. Last week was me. Last week, I was not feeling it. I was like, I was ready to call. I was asleep on the couch.
You were calling me because you couldn't come up with more than 3 stanzas for the poem. So we had to talk that out with some serious therapy session like an hour before the show.
And then this week, Trey was having all kinds of technical issues. He was worried he wasn't going to make it. And Trey, that was probably your most impeccable timing with the poetry music that we've had since you were on it. So every week it comes together. We're the ride. And although relaxed is our disposition, I was not too relaxed going into last Thursday night as Team Canada was getting set for revenge in Boston against the big bad United States. Sheldon, first impressions of the game and the victory.
Okay, well, this is crazy. It was nerve-wracking. I mean, the whole 2 days leading up to it, there's just something about this year. One, it was an absolute great format. I love what the NHL is doing. I love how they're going to try to incorporate this, every couple of years and mix it in with the Olympics. I think that's going to be putting hockey on the international stage in a huge way. But speaking of international, there was some international diplomacy issues going on between our two countries competing in this. And although I never get too uptight about things like that, and I enjoy sports for what it is, I'd be lying if I didn't say I felt like there was something more at stake at this game than just a win or a loss. You know what I mean? Like you really felt like you cannot lose this game. It's like back in the day when the Riders came into town. I don't mind. We could lose to anybody, but I don't want to lose to the Riders because it hurts. It sucks. You feel like they've got something over you. And I think that sets the stage for an amazing Gold Cup game.
Yeah. Sheldon, I feel exactly what you're saying in that, I've really analyzed this for years and years growing up. The big bad nemesis in hockey was always the Russians. Sweden were the younger cousins. The United States were the younger brothers. But, the ones that truly threatened our dominance, both on the ice and on the international stage, has always been the Russians. And then lately, the last, 10 years since we competed in the Olympics, there hasn't been that excitement, hasn't been that fury. Yeah, we've faced these different countries, but the world kind of went, numb for a while. And all of a sudden, like you mentioned, there's a lot of international tension, especially now between Canada and the US, where that rivalry flipped, partly because Russia was excluded from the tournament because of international politics, and partly because of what's going on directly as a result of what's going on, with everything Trump's been saying about Canada becoming the 51st state and all that. Like, I normally don't get too wrapped up in the politics, but I'll be the first to admit that since the new year, I've been super wrapped up into it, to the point where I feel like I gotta turn it off because it's pressing my buttons. Normally, It doesn't, but it's pressing my buttons. I can admit it.
So what you're saying is this felt like the old days of Canada versus USSR or the CCCP, Vladimir Tretiak in net. And something more sick. Not only that, the fact that we lost in that first game. I mean, that shook me. How we lost. Their defense was dominating. We could not get anywhere in the middle of the ice. Goaltending was spectacular on one side and pretty shaky on the other side. And it just felt like, you know what, Chef? We don't have it. The Americans are going to dominate us. Overtime win to Sweden in the first game, a loss to the Americans. This tournament started off horribly, and I was terrified going into Thursday night that it was going to not be the result that I wanted. But the real thing that got me about it was Thursday night. My son's going to Orlando for a band competition, and they picked Thursday night as a night for the meeting where you had to go and get all the papers notarized. I missed, other than watching a bit of the game on my phone during the meeting, I had to drive back and watch. I caught overtime I got there right in time for overtime. Otherwise, the rest of the game, I missed it.
Yeah, no, I was all in. Like, for me, opposite. Obviously having my kids halftime, I miss out on opportunities to do things with them. If they were at their mom's, I wouldn't have been watching this game. But on top of that, I have one son that's in university. He works. He's busy. All my kids play sports. If they had sports, that's where we would have been. But it just so happened that night, by the time the game started, all my kids had nothing. My one son was working. He was done by the time the game was going. So we all met at Boston Pizza. And man, it was, first of all, we had so much pizza. We gorged ourselves in that first period. It was amazing. But just to do something like that with my kids, and for me, just like you, I was nervous because I felt like this was a big moment. And we spent the last 6 months talking about football, and here we are all in for this turn. That 2 weeks ago, we're like, I don't know about it, but the dials were turned at precisely the right tune for this game to be one of the most important sporting events in North America. And it shows by the ratings. I believe they said there was, what is it? 19 million viewers on ESPN, or 13 million viewers. I had it here somewhere. Just a ridiculous number for the Four Nations Cup. What was it? 16.1 viewers in North America, 9.3 viewers in the United States, and 6.3 million. I thought more would have watched in Canada, but that's also
how many was that in Canada?
6.3, which it's kind of surprising.
That's surprising me, actually.
But but that's also in this day and age of streaming subscription services. A lot of people aren't buying a subscription to watch it. I'll tell you, I was at Boston Pizza. I watched it there, and then we ran home for the second period. And I purchased a subscription to go from the second period on because I don't have it at home. And I was like, I am watching this game. I was waiting for a password, but it came in. And I know he turned his phone off, but I'll forgive him for that. But anyhow, I bought the subscription so I could watch the game. That's how me and my boys, we tuned in, and man, it was poetry. Like,
oh yeah.
For me, I was excited. I can't imagine for a kid like 10 years ago, my oldest was 18. Kyle was 3. He wouldn't remember when Sidney Crosby scored that golden goal. He barely remembers I took him across Canada on a train when he was 5. He doesn't remember that at all. So, but this moment for kids who grew up across Canada, loving hockey, I really believe it was a big moment for us. In the face of everything going around outside the rink, I thought it was a perfect. It was such a gratifying sporting experience, and you don't have those too often in an 82 game or 84 game NHL season. I was just talking about it with my friends at work today. I don't get buzzed up for a regular season Calgary Flames game. Maybe when the Montreal Canadiens come in town, but NHL is not like CFL or NFL in that every game matters. Well, this tournament with the best players on display, every game mattered. And just like you, when they lost on Saturday, man, I felt like, oh boy, this could be it. Like, we might not get a crack at the gold medal if we lost on Monday.
I would take it even further than that. I started feeling like maybe this is the end of Canadian domination. You get all those like worst case thoughts and fears in your head. Maybe the Americans are surpassing us. They've got 10 times the population. The world at some point, like it used to be, Canada dominated everything internationally. Now, not so much. But you know, the thing, like Trey was just saying there, yeah, this was for the 2000s kids generation. Yeah, this was the golden goal. This is what they're going to be remembering. They're going to be telling that story. Like I still talk about Tretiak from back in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know what I thought was really neat about that was Canada needed all the stars to shine that night. And we got that for the, in fact, I think my favorite thing too is for the younger guys now, Sidney Crosby is not going to be playing for that much longer in competitive hockey, right? He's at the end of his days. But if you're a kid that's 10, you're going to remember him from this night. He was Captain Canada. He was the guy who, like, I don't think he led the team in points or anything like that through the tournament. But
he's tied. He's tied for first with Connor McDavid. He has 5 points. He was 1, 2, like 1, 2 through. Number one is the defenseman from the United States, Zach Werenski's got 6 points. Then it's Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby, 2 and 3 tied.
Amazing. So, at his age. I mean, you see him, you watch the Penguins and sometimes you do kind of forget his greatness over his career, right? To see him play, like he's a great player, whatnot, but to see him rise above and absolutely take this team on his shoulders and open the way for your Connor McDavids and your McKinnons, guys that far outclass him in speed and skill set now, but just his leadership and his desire to win. It's just something to see. Like they're even talking about in his empty netter when he went and which game was that? When he had the empty netter, he goes and takes, instead of just trying to steal the puck, he hits the guy front and center, knocks him back, dislodges the puck from him, takes it and scores a goal. When you're playing against the best, you've got to play tough hockey. And I think what we saw to Sidney Crosby was that toughness from back in the day, from a different generation leaking back into this game, which is all about skill. And I was inspired.
Well, and again, there's a lot of motivation when it's one and you're done, right? Like, for a guy like Sidney Crosby, his age, like he's got to watch his body through an 84 game schedule. In a tournament like this, he's probably going like balls to the wall saying, listen, this is important. And you look at his performance. You look at Connor McDavid getting the goal in overtime. I mean, if there was ever a passing of the torch moment, it was that. From the last captain to the next captain, Connor McDavid rose to the occasion. And let's make sure we give credit to Mitch Marner because it was a fantastic pass to Connor McDavid, the most dangerous weapon in the world on ice, left completely unguarded. Sure. But what a poetic finish. And as Trey said, for the 2000s kids, this was their moment. And there's a couple of points. One, Trey put up the graphic of Binnington, and it's funny because we had our chat going all game, and Binnington, for me, he was shaky in the game. There was times where he was going across ice when the U.S. was pushing that puck east-west, and man, his movement was scaring me. I was convinced he was going to choke for us. But by the end of the game, I was giving him the MVP of the game. He definitely silenced the doubters. Yes, Trey. I feel like those graphics, Trey, you put them straight for me because I was doubting him so much. But I absolutely flipped an about face within the game, within the 4 periods of the game. I flipped 180 degrees on him. He stole the show at the end to give us that opportunity for that beautiful finish.
So let me ask you this then. So we went from, all right, it's over for Canada. We're never going to dominate world hockey again. We're just another team, to we are the champions. Like it felt really good. Now, if you believe in momentum, now, is this something you think we can carry over into that mindset in the NHL and the playoffs? Connor McDavid finds a way to win the game on his back. Is this a year that he can take the Oilers and finally get a Stanley Cup back in Canada again? Do you think momentum can carry like that? A star player finding the will to win and the way to win on his own, on his own shoulders.
Well, I definitely think that he got an opportunity to rise to the occasion in a big moment. When we talked about those numbers of viewers for the gold medal match, that was only second to last year's Game 7 between Florida and Edmonton. Yeah, wow. And I mean, he was this close, right? He was this close in that game, and he didn't get done. So I definitely think this is a big step for him because, again, he did it all, done that, and I was watching the game, and I told my boys, I said, when Connor McDavid was 18, when he wasn't even in the NHL, or just when he was 17, he was probably already better than 90% of the NHLers. He just had to get to the age where he could play with them. And he's pretty much done everything he can do except win in a big moment with that same competition. Well, this was an opportunity for him to show up, and I really feel he did. I feel he did. Obviously, he was surrounded with some great players, but he has great players with him in Edmonton. So, the question that Trey has up for you, who wins a cup first? In my mind, I see Connor McDavid winning a cup with the Oilers before I see Austin Matthews winning a cup with the Leafs. In fact, I could see I pay attention, but not that much. But I pay enough attention to know that Mitch Marner is always treated as the proverbial, pardon the expression, redheaded stepchild of the Maple Leafs. Whenever everything goes wrong, they point to Mitch Marner. Austin Matthews, kind of untouchable. Willie Nylander, he's the man. But it seems like Mitch Marner gets a lot of flack. And I think if anyone in this tournament showed just how elite he is as a hockey player, it's Mitch Marner. He was fantastic. I thought he was great compliment to those Stars. And I thought, he was in on some big goals. He scored the overtime winner in game 1 against Sweden. He had to walk in and rifle that in. He assisted on that beautiful finish by Connor McDavid. So I could see a situation where the Leafs move on from Austin Matthews and say, what, Mitch is. I could see that. I don't know if it's going to happen, but you got a lot of talent in the Leafs. You got a lot of money tied up in 3 guys. Could you make some room, get a better goaltender? But again, between these 2 right now, Connor McDavid proved a lot more to me. In fact, for me, the stars of the show for the United States, the stars were the Tkachuk brothers.
100%.
You talk about how they started that game on the Saturday night with the 2 fights, and they did that in honor of their dad. Matthew Tkachuk, since he was a Calgary Flame, we got treated, and he got treated poorly here, and that's why he left. He left for the States for greener pastures. There's some tension there at the end, but we were lucky to have him when he was here. But I think hockey is lucky to have him where he is in the United States, because right now, even though they lost, they've been doing the Tonight Show circuits, the podcast from Spitting Chicklets to the New Heights with the Kelsey brothers. These guys are promoting hockey, and whether you like him or hate him on the ice, they are such characters. And they are so good for the game that for me, when I think about the stars of the show and I think about who's doing the most for hockey down south to grow the game, those guys are phenomenal. And I can't wait.
And that's a bit of a problem for them. Daryl writes in, no one's asking Austin Matthews to be on any of those talk shows because he's just a talented guy. He doesn't have that blood and guts, heart and soul. To me, the Tkachuk brothers, they strike me as like Canadian boys, right? Just hard nosed. Yeah, they're skilled. Yeah, they can do some fancy stuff on the ice, but they're not the most skilled guys on the team. They just have more want to and desire than almost anybody else in the league. And it showed here in a tournament of the best, fastest, most skilled players. They dominated for the U.S. So, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no. I'm looking forward to the Olympics. I think it's kind of cool, this format, because it definitely sets it up. We talked about last week the way the Euro Cup and all those guys handle business. That now we get to wait. They get to retool. Both the teams are going to retool each other a little bit, and then they're gonna retool in the Olympics. But I guess we got to take a break. Maybe my phone maybe it's Trey texting me saying we got to take a break.
So guys, feel free, go grab yourself a snack and a drink. Because when we get back, we're going to talk about the other side of the game. We are going to talk about the national anthem. Is it okay when stars use it for their own social messaging? Or does it bug you? Booing Wayne Gretzky. Did you ever see a day where that could happen? Guys, so we're going to talk about that when we come back. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So, stay tuned. We'll be back right after this message.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
Well, I tell you, time flies when you're having fun. It's right with Chevy and Nasty, and that first segment flew by so quick. It flew by so quick, we actually forgot on this 64th episode, we forgot to mention one of the greatest athletes to wear the number 64. And we didn't forget, we actually remembered. It's just that we were having some technical issues, didn't go. But the greatest athlete that listens to the show that wears the number 64 is none other than the man is only, the long snapping legend, Chris Rubio. There he is, Big Chris in his UCLA days, playing against Michigan. It looks like they were playing against Michigan. Big Chris Rubio. So Chris, sorry that we forgot you at the beginning. We'll take it. It was our fault. We didn't bring it up.
You see, we even had the slide ready to go. So
yeah, we had the slide.
Oversight on our part. I got a bone to pick with Rubio, though, because I was on his show last week, kind of breaking down Canadian-U.S. relations, and we had a little bet going on the game where I was going to throw on a yellow hoodie, like he always does on the Rubio method, and he was going to order and eat poutine. And there was no poutine today, but he promises next week that he'll do it. Maybe we'll get him a Team Canada jersey. He can.
We just got to get him up to Canada, and we'll just go hit a couple of poutine spots. He might be in his glory. Once he has one good one, he might just be like, "Let's do it again. Let's do it again." Well, we're glad your heart is filled. But speaking of filled, the stadium was filled in Boston at the TD Garden, and as they got set to prepare for the match. Now, Trey doesn't think this is a big deal. I actually do. Chantal Kraviasic, who I appreciate as a Canadian artist, married to Rain from Our Lady Peace, so a little connection to the band that we gave tickets away from before. She gets up, she sings the national anthem. Now, one of the big questions we had going into that week is we knew there were going to be a lot of Canadian fans there. We knew there were going to be a lot of Americans. Would we be booing each other's national anthem? Never in a million years did I think I'd be booing my own anthem. It started out with Chantal Kraviasic totally destroying the French anthem. I don't even know what she was singing. I don't even think it was French. I think she not only made up new words to the English version, she made up a new language. And she sang like 2 bars. Like the French part is like one half of the song, and then the English part is and yeah, so I'm shaking my camera because it bothers me. And then we find out that after this horrendous version of O Canada, I'm looking into it. Apparently it was planned. Like she decided that she was going to change the lyrics in protest to, I guess, Donald Trump's tariffs and Donald Trump's calling her prime minister governor and Donald Trump accusing of being the 51st state. Now I'm in agreement with her for all of that stuff. But you do not touch the national anthem. I have a big deal with this. I have a hard time with this. Sheldon, are you in the same boat, or am I crazy? Am I a little bit too much?
I think no. I agree. I think there's something about our age where the national anthem was sacred, right? The maple leaf at one point was sacred. So much so to the point, like such a traditionalist. Even when we changed the words to be more, socially with the times, I guess. 10 years ago, I had a problem with that. Except, like you said, at least that was done officially.
Yeah.
I don't think national anthems are meant to be protest songs, right?
No.
If you want to protest, if you want to put out a tweet, wear a shirt, I guess that's distasteful to me too. But to me, national anthems are untouchable. It took me some years to get used to even, when they sing the American anthem in Calgary, "Oh Say Can You See," and "Red" and all that stuff. I love it, but it felt always like it was something wrong with it, even though it was somebody else's anthem. Now I liked Chantal Kraviachik back in the day. She had a ton of good songs. I liked her in the 90s, but that doesn't give you license to mess with an anthem that's supposed to stand for something. Yeah, I think that's the big thing. If you can change the anthem to suit your message of the day, then your anthem doesn't really mean anything at all. And that bothers me for sure.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't agree with that. Like I said, I'm okay with peaceful protest. I'm okay with protest. Like, for instance, if you want to protest a certain statue, stand in front of it, hold up a sign, stand peacefully, but don't degrade the sign. Don't vandalize it. Don't do anything.
Don't throw paint. Don't
do that. Well, the national, if she wasn't in agreement with what was going on, she could have worn a t-shirt to voice her protest of whatever she was against, but do not touch the anthem. I know it's a small issue for some people, and again, most people don't know the French version, so they wouldn't even understand how important the French version is.
What was the change that she made? What was the change in the words she did? I know once she made a mistake. And once she did it on purpose.
I can't even remember. I just know that she I can't remember now that you actually say, but she purposely changed the words, and it was something of our freedom. But and the French part that she left out was so beautiful. It's like, when your brothers brought the sword, we brought the cross, and that's like an important, like, Canada was built on peace, right? And I know cross is a religious symbol, but still, it's the symbolism of peace. We weren't just built on war, and so I don't know. I had a problem with it. Like, I taught in schools a lot, and when I would see kids, not standing for the national anthem and not paying attention, for me, it's a big deal. I've always had an issue with that. Like, I've taught in the Catholic schools. In the morning before class, they do prayer, and they do the national anthem. And it's the one time that kids are asked to do something a little bit above themselves and show some respect, especially in this day and age where everything just flies by so quickly that they don't even stop to smell the roses. Those little things, to me, are important. And like you said, if you could just change the words to the national anthem, I think you don't stand for anything. And I agree with what she was protesting. I agree with her. I just don't like what she did. I had a hard time with it.
Then let me ask you this then. Wayne Gretzky, national icon, a hero of all of our youth.
Yeah.
He's now being booed by people making their political statements because him and Trump are friends. He went to, I think, his inauguration event, and Donald Trump references him like a buddy all the time. What do you think about booing Wayne Gretzky? Because you asked me that 10 years ago, I would have said that is impossible. That he's closer to having his statue in front of every federal building than he would be to ever being booed. And now, because of affiliations, some people absolutely cannot accept that he's got a friend in Donald Trump.
Well, they want to remove Wayne Gretzky away. I mean, again, it's one of those things where they said there's a petition going around in Edmonton to remove Wayne Gretzky away. And there's the thing, like, whatever you believe now, I have a hard time with this erase the past to live in the now. Like, you got to learn from your past. And Wayne Gretzky, he's a big part of Canadiana. Yeah, he's not Canadian. He's lived the better part of his life in the United States. I mean, he's Canadian, but he's more American than he is Canadian at this point. And his interests lie in the U.S. way more than in Canada. Otherwise, he would have been on Hockey Night in Canada at some point in his career. He's never done Hockey Night in Canada, yet he's on the U.S. channels. You know what I mean? He doesn't necessarily give back to Canada except in those ceremonial moments like he did before the game. But he's a big boy. He could choose who his friends are. I mean, he runs in circles that you or I or the common people would never understand.
But if his friendship, like, let's not forget this. Donald Trump and Elon Musk both were Democrats, right? They were what used to be the Democratic Party, used to be left, and now is moved so far gone that, they're just who they are. But can you really take a guy that was cool and friends with a guy that was cool back in the day, and now since that guy's not cool anymore, say, oh, you got to ditch your friend or the affiliation with him? Like, to me, that just feels like it's childish, right?
Yeah.
Am I missing something here? To me, it feels like people are so butthurt over Trump. What do they call it? Trump derangement syndrome, that anybody that is friends or shares any past history with a guy is, unless you fly the flag that says Trump's an asshole, that you must be an asshole. I don't know. It's just something about that just seems wrong to me.
I agree, but I think because, everything we talked about, why this game was so big last week, is percolating through our society, right? Like the tension between Canada and US, the chaos, and everyone sees Trump as being that lightning rod for chaos in Canada. Forget about Trudeau. Like, I'm on the same page as you. We don't have to talk about how Trudeau destroyed Canada. I'm with you on that. Like, we need to. But right now,
thank you.
Right now, people are seeing Trump as the number one reason why we won't be able to get out of our own way. Like, if Trump wasn't on us right now, maybe we could survive this stupid liberal race that shouldn't even be a thing, and we can get on an election and then get our country turned around. But Trump is not going to allow for that, right? I think people see that, and so I think they see
Trump's not going to allow for what?
I don't think we're going to be in a position where, like, we're always going to be playing catch up. Like, we can't rest. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because he's hit you with the tariffs, hit you with this, and we're still in a leadership race, right? And he knows that. He knows we're scrambling. That's why he's doing what he's doing. But I think people see him as the lightning rod for a lot of chaos in Canada now, and obviously personal opinions that people don't like him, and so they see that as sort of an affront to being Canadian right now. And like it or not, I mean, he's going to have to live with, I'm sure he doesn't even care about the consequences of it. Wayne Gretzky was never a guy that had these, like, professed his deep emotional ties to Canada. Like, you even look at how he showed up before the game. Mike, what's his name? Mike Gazzanone. I don't even know if I said it, is Eruzione. The guy who's the honorary captain for USA came out fired up, loving the crowd. He had his USA jersey. He was like freaking living his best life. And then Wayne Gretzky comes out, didn't really have a smile on his face, not wearing a team. Like, he was just there, and he was there probably because they asked him to be there. It probably wasn't the honor of his life to be like, or a big deal to him to say, oh yeah, Connor McDavid, Sidney, you know what I mean? Like, he was very cold about his involvement, and I think that also affects people too. Just watching how he's kind of like, yeah, we.
Isn't he always like that, though? Isn't he always like that? Like,
but you say it all the time. You say it all the time. Like, you could separate your sports heroes from being nice guys or not. And I think the problem is, for the longest time, people held Wayne Gretzky up as this icon. Like, people held Wayne Gretzky up to the same standard they hold Terry Fox, right? When you think Terry Fox, you think Wayne Gretzky, you think, oh, okay. But I don't think they see that anymore.
This is where I'm going with this, though.
Yeah.
So let's say that Terry Fox had pulled through.
And he's with Trump
somewhere, and he's with Trump. To me, this is the literal definition of Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah,
we change the way we view, because everybody here's getting their panties in a knot and getting all excited, and it's become like the thing to do is either defend Trump or hate Trump.
Yeah,
but to hate on a person for being friends with a guy who was, again, 10 years ago was one of the most recognizable, liked people in coming out of the United States. He was a celebrity. Everybody knew he's a bombastic, over the top promoter, like Don King was in boxing. But Wayne Gretzky is still Terry Fox. Well, there's only one Terry Fox. But there's only one Wayne Gretzky, and to me, he is not tarnished at all. Short of the great 99 pulling an O.J. Simpson and getting camera viewed driving down the highway in the back of a Bronco. I think Wayne Gretzky's always got to be that guy.
I'm going to tell you, for me personally, I never saw Wayne Gretzky as more than the greatest hockey player on the earth. I never thought of him as this great ambassador for anything other than hockey. You know,
I think that's the difference because you grew up with Guy Lafleur and guys of those vintage. I grew up with Wayne Gretzky. I mean, I saw him cry at the press conference when he got traded. I think he was deeply passionate about his Canadian roots and his love for Edmonton. He's just not as outspoken.
I just never saw that from him. Like, you don't see it too much from hockey players in general. Hockey players have always been more reserved. They've always been, like I see more or saw more out of pinball than I ever saw out of Wayne Gretzky. Like more love for Canada from pinball than Wayne Gretzky he appeared in Tim Hortons commercials. So it's like, oh yeah, he must love Canada. He loves Tim Hortons. But pinball, like, but pinball rubs me the wrong way. To me, I never trust anybody that's happy. But again, I'm just talking about different guys in the community. But it was hard it would have been hard for Gretzky to be anything other than a superstar in Canada. He had to be somewhat reclusive. So again, I never saw him as more than the greatest hockey player. Does that change for me? No. Do I think he's less of a because I never saw petition? Will you sign the petition to take down Gretzky Way or whatever? No. Like I was going to say, for someone who never idolized him beyond hockey, I don't look at him any differently because he's hanging out with Trump. Yeah. Do I like Trump? I don't like him. But I'm not going to be like, well, Wayne Gretzky is not advising Trump on policy, and Wayne Gretzky is not telling Trump what to do, and he's probably not cheering on all the moves. But it's like,
unless he becomes Canada's governor, then that might change, right? Like that might tarnish his reputation a little bit more.
But let's take this Trump thing to a new. Oh, Trey says we got 2 minutes.
Yeah. I think we take it to the next segment, and because we got some good stuff in the third. I know we want to get to as well.
Well, why don't we take we're at 40 minutes. Why don't we take a little break? We'll talk about this White House thing, and then we'll get to a third segment and get it out. So let's take a little break now, guys. Thanks for joining us. All of you that with the comments, it's hard for us to read them while we're going. So we try and read them in the break. But make sure you follow us at Chevy and Nasty, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X. Our show is going to be on Amazon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts tomorrow. We're also on YYC Business we got TikTok too. So follow all our stuff. Share with your friends, tell them about our show. We love having you on. We love interacting. We're seeing lots of chatter tonight, which is awesome, which means we're having great conversations. We'll take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about Trump again and the White House and the Eagles. Are they going or are they not? See you in a bit.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? I thought we had more time than we have. So one of the stories that came out yesterday that might have been rebuked, but it still deserves a little attention because it got the internet fired up. There was a rumor, or maybe it is true, maybe it's not, that the Eagles might not participate in a visit to the White House if invited for Donald Trump. It's still kind of up into the air as to whether that is accurately reported or not. But Trump says he's still gonna invite the Eagles, and the Eagles, in some reports, say they would go. Whether this happens or not, there has been a precedent set where some people have chosen to decline a White House interview. Sheldon, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it's kind of dumb. Like, first off, I think that original story was an overreaction. I think somebody in the Eagles front office, when asked, said, "Absolutely not, we will not go." But she was not speaking for the team, right? It's just
probably not.
Again, that Trump derangement syndrome. But you asked me a real interesting question before the show, because I was thinking, no, this is stupid. You guys go. It's an honor.
And let's stay on this for a second. Because there has been a precedent set, right? Tim Thomas of the Boston Bruins refused to go visit Obama. It's not just a Republican people versus like a Republican Democrat. There's people that have refused. You know, some people like Tom Brady didn't go to be with his mom who had cancer when they won one of the Super Bowls. Michael Jordan didn't go to the White House when the Bulls were invited. I believe the Golden State Warriors in 2017 declined the invitation, and then Trump revoked the invitation, and then in 2018 didn't invite them. And then I believe in 2019, the Eagles did not attend the White House. So this has happened over time. It's not the first time that this may or may not happen, but people can protest how they want, right? Like, and again, I would think it's a great honor, but I don't know which way to go, because again, I asked you the question. I said, if Trudeau invited you,
let's set that up. So we're talking before, because my initial is just go. It's an honor, right? And then before the show, Chevy asked me, Sheldon, would you go if Trudeau invited you? And I was like, well, with a team, yeah, I would. Then I thought it for a second, and I was like, you know what, that would just burn me up to be face to face with a guy, because I'm one of those guys. I'm accusing people of Trump derangement syndrome. Maybe I got Trudeau derangement syndrome. I would not want to meet the man or shake his hand. I don't want a picture with him. I've
been in an elevator with him and I hated it. I don't like it.
You were in a class with him at McGill, weren't you?
Yeah. I believe. But I was in an elevator with him, and it was like, I would not want to do that visit. Like, the only reason I would go is if I was promised like the most exquisite free food, and even then, I would probably not participate in a photo op. I feel that strongly about him and what he's done
and it's
to
not
our
just a political thing. It was John Chrétien, absolutely. It was any a great liberal leader, NDP leader, absolutely. But for whatever reason, this guy just gets under my skin.
And so I wouldn't go, and I would like I said, maybe I would take the free flight to Ottawa. I'd go get free food if the food is good. But I'm refusing any photo op, any shake hands opportunity with him. But maybe to support my teammates, I would go with those that feel strongly about going. But I definitely wouldn't be having, like, there's too much damage done by him in my eyes for me to accept that this is an honor to be in his presence, because it's not. I don't believe in anything he stands for. I don't believe in how he's run things. He's been constantly surrounded by scandal.
We like, and we for sure. Like, I totally get that.
Yeah.
My question is, if you think about it, if you were invited and you didn't go, would you have remorse afterwards? Like, I missed an opportunity.
No.
This is bigger than 5 years from now, 10 years from now, not to have that plaque up on the wall sitting there in his office in Ottawa.
And that's the thing. I don't think so, because how I feel. And whether people would say, and again, maybe we'd be judged. Oh, look, he's protesting. And it's like, well, I don't know. I just, you got to make your choices, right? And we talk about silent protest. I'm not going to go spit on the guy. Yeah. I'm not going to go slap him in the face.
I'm not going to change the lyrics to the national anthem.
Exactly. And I think that's fine. And so if the Eagles decide to go or not go, I'm not going to judge them because I think, oh, they have that, what did you call it? The Trump derangement. They may have some legitimate reasons for not going to visit him that maybe you or I don't understand. And I'm not going to judge him because there has been a precedent for this. And like I said, if I'm pretty passionate about not going to Ottawa if I had won another Grey Cup and got invited. So I can imagine that some people in the States right now feeling very divided. They obviously are divided, and this might be one of those issues where they're divided on, and we'll see how
you wouldn't judge him either way.
No. Sheldon, let's move on to our studs and duds of the week. We got plenty of time. Let's do that so we can take this thing home. Trey.
Studs and Duds.
All right, where do you want to start, Chev?
You go ahead. Go ahead with your stud. I think we'll
my stuff. Okay, we talk a lot about sports and the commitment of coaches and parents and kids. But I had an amazing experience this weekend at Calgary's International Band Festival. Bishop Carroll band leader Jeff Waterbury. This guy, I was watching him at the International Music Festival, juggling 7 different bands. Getting them onto their performances where they're judged, and you've got 3 adjudicators sitting there, and then they get a half-hour session with the adjudicators afterwards. This guy was balancing, instructing the kids, leading the kids, making sure they all showed up and were in the right rooms at the right time. And it occurred to me that people in the music world are so dedicated and so passionate about it. It's their sport, it's their life, it's their world. And so it's guys like Jeff Waterbury, who leads 7 bands and also is instrumental in getting one of the bands down to Disneyland here in the next couple of weeks. So Adric, my oldest, is going to Disneyland to play in a band where they get to play along with a movie soundtrack, which is really cool. But I think we should celebrate our local heroes that just go over and beyond. This guy did a fantastic job. And of course, Bishop Carroll ranked up a bunch of awards and first places for the performances. So Jeff Waterbury, you're my stud this week.
Nice. Well, that's a good one. And that comes full circle, because part of the reason you missed the first 3 periods of Team Canada game last Thursday was so that you can go help Adric get everything set so he can go to the States for that, correct?
That's why he's also my dud. But
well, my stud this week is going to be the Calgary Hitmen. You talk about local heroes. So the Calgary Hitmen, junior hockey. There it is. Tomorrow is Pink Shirt Day all across Canada, and that is a day that we celebrate to recognize people who are being bullied, and we use it as an awareness day to really end bullying. And the Calgary Hitmen have been doing this end bullying game for the last 6 years. I've been part of it, one of the ambassadors to it for 5 years, including 4 years on behalf of the Calgary Fire Department. And they do a phenomenal job. First of all, it's a daytime game. The game puck drops at 11 in the morning, and what they do is they bus about 15,000 kids from all Calgary area schools. They hook them up with tickets, like really low price concessions, and they give them a game. They do a bunch of awareness activities. They got stuff in the concourse for the kids, and it's a give back to the community. They have some amazing people, Amy, Caitlin, and all of them putting on this event. They do it, and like I said, they comp most all the tickets to that game. About 15,000 tickets they give away to schools for that game, and all schools have to do is get the bus and get the kids there. And it's a pretty, it's the loudest sporting event you'll ever go to.
I got to go there that one year with Dare to Care. And Chev, I'll tell you what, you do a real nice job with that, where you got up there and you gave a great presentation, got all the kids, and you're not wrong. The whole stadium arena is filled with kids, and the energy there is electric. So that's a great stud, and good job on doing that. And next year, find a way to get me back on the invite list. That was a lot of fun.
I'll get you in. But so the Calgary Hitmen, that's my stud of the week. Sheldon, your dud.
Oh, my dud. Dude, I was reading the National Post. There's an article this week. My dud is crime tourists. And when I put that in the chat, like, what's a crime tourist?
Yeah.
Well, apparently, okay, so here's the deal. In York, they just arrested something like 40 people. And what they found after a 4-month investigation, what people are doing, largely out of Chile, right? Where they came up through the US border and then up into Canada. Eastern Europeans are flying over, and they come in the wintertime when the days are short, and they scout out people's houses and they burglarize them. They spend 4 or 5 months in Canada, and then in March and April, after collecting all their stuff, shipping it back to Chile or Eastern Europe, and selling it off through organized gang members, family members, they go back and do it again, and they return every year, and they're doing it. So those NFL break-ins that you've been hearing about with at Mahomes' place, these are organized Chilean gangs that just study easy targets. A lot of times they break in through the second floor window because everybody's got their first floor windows all alarmed up. But it's actual organized crime that's coming to the country. If they get arrested, they get deported. Then they come back again the next year with new passports, new IDs, and they do it all over again. So it is. So that is my does. Canada, we were facing organized crime by people that are taking advantage of our good natures and our easy systems, and we got to do something about this.
Yeah, that sucks.
It does suck.
Yeah, that sucks. I don't even like hearing that because it's just there's too many bad people in the world. I know there's a lot of good people in the world, but when you hear stuff like this, the people that
they have seasons, Chevy. They have seasons. They have an off season where they plan everything out, get their new documentation. They play it in seasons. Unbelievable.
Idiots. That's a good dud. Listen, I'm gonna try and go quick on my dud. Jonathan Martin. For those of you who remember, so we talked about the anti-bullying day with TELUS, and we raised a lot of awareness for people that are actually victimized. I've done talks across Canada. There are people that are actually victimized. Jonathan Martin, if you recall, was the Miami Dolphins offensive lineman that accused his teammate Richie Incognito. It was about 10 years ago now. This scandal rocked the Dolphins. He accused him of bullying. Richie Incognito was a center, all-pro center, 10-year, 11-year Hall of Fame guy, or I think Hall of Fame guy, but Pro Bowler. And just Jonathan Martin quit the team, accused them of bullying him, and coaches got fired, players got fired, and it was bad. Now, the investigation that came out showed that the Dolphins had a very toxic workplace. And you and I know that some of the locker rooms we were part of in the past, they were not they did not have HR departments, and they did not have workplace policies, and the locker room was always a bit of a savage place. Like, let's be real. But what came out last week was that Jonathan Martin admitted to lying about being bullied. And that's one thing when you do work like you and I have both done across the country to help kids talk about bullying, to identify what bullying is. It takes one person who lies about it to make everyone think that bullying doesn't really exist. And so I've been to little towns in the wake of a tragic accident involving bullying, where some kid was bullied and no one listened and they took their own life. I've been there several times. And so when you see someone that lies about it, whatever victimization people lie about, could be bullying, could be sexual harassment, it really disempowers the people who are actually going through it. So whatever beef they had, that Jonathan Martin had with Richie Incognito, he basically admitted, Jonathan Martin, that he lied because his mom forced him to lie so he could keep his NFL money when the pressure of playing at that high level, I guess, got to him. He didn't like the work environment. He quit the team, but they were worried about his money. So he concocted this story about how he was being bullied. Wow. The NFL investigated. Players got fired. Coaches got fired. That's my dud of the week. Don't accuse people of things if it's not what's really happening, because you really hurt everyone else that's actually a victim. And so that's my dud of the week.
And even the ones that now the victims are really just the ones that he pinned it on, because that did affect guys' careers. Guys lost jobs over that. So that's brutal.
Yeah, no, that's brutal. Let's finish on a lighter topic.
I want to, and actually, this is kind of funny. I want to go back to Kozak, who's on fire with his text tonight. He's all full of piss and vinegar. But he says, meet Trudeau at Hooters for beer and wings. But you know what, Chev? As you heard in the news this week, you will not for much longer be able to do anything at Hooters. They are going bankrupt. They are closing their doors. Chev, how much does this impact you? We talked about Terry Fox. We talked about Wayne Gretzky. Is Hooters a great North American cultural icon?
Well, I have a bit of an affinity to Hooters. I mean, in Canada, they shut down in Calgary. They had a couple of them a few years ago. I think I went to the one down on McLeod Trail for a while. Then it shut down, and I think they were gone. But we never had Hooters, obviously, in Montreal growing up. But when I was drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars and I had to report for off-season workouts right after being drafted, we were there for 3 months, me and all the rookies that I got drafted with. And we would go to our morning workouts. And every day after workouts, we would drive to Jack's Beach, and there was a Hooters on I believe it's the I-95. I can't even remember, but the JTB. The JTB was the highway. We drive down the highway, the JTB, and we go to the Hooters. And every day we had Hooters wings. So there was that affinity. I liked going to Hooters. I don't know how the restaurant's been doing in the last little while.
Honestly, I haven't been there in years. But for me, it's part of the 90s culture. I don't even know when they started. But when I was Iowa State, the Cyclones, two of the founding members were Iowa State Cyclones. Iowa State alumni. So it used to be that whenever, and we were all excited because I was told on our first road trip, every time we're on the road trip, we get free Hooters. And I thought, oh, this is really cool. But what we used to do is we used to land in the airport, get onto our buses, get the police escort to the hotel, and we would stop at a Hooters and they would deliver it into the bus, right? But that was pretty cool. The girls would come in with the bags and all that stuff. We didn't get to go inside. But for me, that was the first time I'd ever, because North Battleford, Saskatchewan, I mean, there was no Hooters there ever.
Yeah.
Right?
And let's be real. Let's be real. The Hooters, if you go in and they smile and they wink at you, it felt kind of good when you're a young man.
It was sort of the edgy thing to do, right? Before the age of strip clubs and things like that. It was like Hooters was just kind of good, clean fun, right? But those little long shorts and the little white t-shirts. I think I'm going to miss it.
But there's some celebrities that reacted. NBA star, he's like, please don't go. He pleaded. In fact, I think I can't remember his name. Trey, you got to put his name up for me because I keep forgetting his name. But I was reading the story, and Hooters has offered him free wings for life because he kind of put them back on the map. And then Paige Sporanic, Instagram babe golf girl. If you've seen her, I guess she's famous for being quite a great. So Devin Booker was the Phoenix Suns player, I believe that he kind of got this internet sparked up about this where people got attention. But Paige Sporanic, she's Instagram golf babe, 34 double Ds is her statistics, and I guess her forward line is not on my watch, and I think that's also in reference to another tweet she had a while back about Hooters. Apparently she likes Hooters, so they're not going anywhere as long as she's around. And then Kelly Clarkson is, please don't go. So Kelly Clarkson has an affinity to Hooters. I mean, I think there's a generational thing here where millennials, they're just not, like, I think they see things like that as sleazy and creepy, whereas back in the day, we just thought it as good, clean fun.
Well, just compare 80s and 90s movies to movies today, right? Like, Hooters boobs, and that's what Hooters was, right? It was edgy for that time.
Yeah, every comedy, as you mentioned, in the 80s had a scene with some boobs. Now that doesn't exist. I remember watching was it National Lampoon's Vacation with my kids, and I think there's a scene with boobs. I didn't remember that. My kid's like, Dad, what is this? Or I watched Any Given Sunday, and there was boobs in it, and the kids were like, like it's changed. It's definitely changed from the Porky's, American Pie. That stuff just doesn't seem to fly anymore with the young kids. They're not as interested.
Like they don't like boobs. Nobody likes boobs anymore. Like that's just weird. But, Chev, I'll tell you, I've outdated myself in this world. I don't understand this world, but I guess if you want your last shot at Hooters, you probably got a couple of months. So make sure you patronize the one in your town. But
I told you, there's another restaurant you got to check out. It's called Twin Peaks. I saw it when I went to Vegas. Very much like Hooters. The girls dress in short shorts and lumberjack shirts, so a little bit more modern outfit. I think the other thing is the Hooters outfit doesn't really fit anywhere in fashion. It's like, it looks like a spacesuit, right? Maybe they have to reinvent the suit, But yeah, what do you guys think about Hooters going under? Are you bothered by it, or like? If I'm going to the States, I'm not going to Hooters. I used to go. We used to have wings. We used to chat when we were young guys. But now it's like, I want to go to a good restaurant. I want to go to,
the wings were good.
Yeah. You know what I didn't like about the wings? They always had the little fingers on them. Like they had the arms on them. I didn't like that. I like when they clip them off. When I went to Hooters for the first time, I had a real hard time looking at that piece that you can't eat that was deep fried.
Well, you can gnaw on it. You can get like the batter or the sauce off a little bit.
And the other thing is, let's get to the meat of this. The Hooters girls, right? Anytime I've ever been into Hooters, it was never like the calendar, and it was never like the posters, and it was never like the commercials. It's kind of like the cheerleader effect. They say when there's a bunch of cheerleaders together, they all look amazing, but if you get them like one-on-one, they're just look normal and average. And I think Hooters was the same thing. Maybe you didn't know the right time to go in, but it was just, once you go in, it's just, okay, everything's orange and white. And, I did, what I did?
Are you going to pin that on DEI? It's like social norms changed, or like what happened? They lowered their recruitment standards, not by merit.
Yeah. They're all airline pilots now.
Yeah. There you go.
and they could land upside down.
Yeah, it wasn't. I'd like to hear. I would love to have a guest on sometime that was an actual Hooters waitress. Did they enjoy the little thrill of that too, or was it just a job that they had to put up with? I think some of them probably enjoyed it.
But I know one thing. I remember once I got to judge the Hooters calendar contest here in Calgary. That was a big thing. For a lot of the Hooters goes, I think I was with Scott Coe, Wes Lysak, maybe Mark Bowrichter. And we judged the Hooters. I think it was at the Jubilee Auditorium here. And all Hooters waitresses came, and I think if you get in that calendar, there's some big time perks. It was kind of like back in the day, it was kind of like if you were a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, right? Yeah. There was a lot of perks to that. I mean, now I still think it's a big deal to be a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader in that world. I think being a Hooters babe, maybe it's not as big a deal. I don't know. I saw one tweet today said that if during the pandemic they would have had a delivery service called Knockers, they wouldn't be going bankrupt. So who knows? But it doesn't mean they're going out of business. It doesn't mean they're going out of business. It just means they're going to have to get Elon Musk and the Doge to make sure they're tightening the purse strings and make sure they're focusing on the Hooters. Maybe they had vegan options.
Maybe Trump will sign a national directive, a national order, and bring this back to life. But
he did own the Miss America pageant, didn't he? Or which was the one? So maybe you know what? Maybe he'll take over Hooters. Who knows?
You take it, Chev.
I like Todd Kozak with the line of the night. Put it up there, Trey. How about Beavers? Well, on that note, we're keeping it PG. Guys, thank you so much. I think that was the actual line of the night. I think we should, if we had a prize for it, we would. Guys, listen, we love having you here. All your comments, I was reading them. There's a lot of Oilers talk. I think someone burned their jersey tonight. Trey's crying. Guys, please continue to like, follow, and subscribe to our show. Please tell some friends. What else we got coming up? We got the men's mental health movie coming up in May, I believe May 22nd. So you guys are going to want to start circling that date on your calendar. Next week, we're going to have another awesome show. And before we go to break tonight, make sure you tune in because we're going to give you a little preview of the ZB's upcoming single that was written in sort of as an homage or a reflection of what's happening in our society. I think it's called Yo-Oh, and it's a song about Canada. Guys, thank you so much. Sheldon, thank you so much. Trey, thank you so much. Let's do this again next week, 10:30. We're Chevy and Nasty, and we're out.
It's cold, 40 below, and it snows. Nobody knows, and it blows. Wind really goes, and you